Okay, so Final Fight was important for a lot of reasons. The fact it was on the SNES but not the Mega Drive was one of them. This was part of the reasoning behind Sega coming up with the Streets of Rage franchise. Final Fight touched and affected the whole of the market. I'm going to try to talk about it, but do my best not to retread over exactly the same ground everyone else does. This will be hard with how much the game's been talked about. Final Fight is a side-scrolling beat-em-up produced by Capcom. Originally it was released as an arcade game in 1989. Final Fight was the 7th title Capcom made to work with its CPS arcade system board. The CPS worked a bit like a Neo Geo. You had a system board and other smaller boards could be mounted on top of this. The large board was the guts of the arcade unit and the small board held the actual game. I actually own a CPS board, but the only game I own for it is Pang 3. Final Fight is set within the fictional Metro City. In the arcade game you get to pick one of 3 characters, who are former pro wrestler turned mayor Mike Hagar, his daughter's boyfriend Cody, and Cody's friend Guy. And the whole idea of the game is to take down the Mad Gear Gang and rescue Hagar's daughter Jessica, who has been kidnapped. The game originally began development as a sequel to the first Street Fighter arcade game, but the genre was switched from a one-on-one fighting game to a walk-along beat-em-up, and the title was changed following the success of Double Dragon. This is probably one of the main reasons that Final Fight characters have popped up in later Street Fighter games. When the SNES version was released, it was in some ways limited. There was only Hagar and Cody. Guy had been dropped. Although there was a version released in some territories called Final Fight Guy, which removed Cody from the game and replaced him with Guy. As well as this, there was a level stripped out of the game, and there were some minor changes in connection to policies Nintendo had for games released on their machines. For example, female members of the Mad Gear were altered to appear male, as Nintendo had objections in regards to the ability to violently beat up women, even if they were busy trying to knife you to death. None of this broke the game or made a huge difference to how it played. I do think that with some effort they could have squeezed Guy in. I've seen games cheat to free up room by using the same legs or arms for characters before, just colour swapped, and I'm sure there'd have been some way to do something like this to free up a little room and get him in, but regardless, the main thing that people tend to talk about is the fact that this game has no 2-player mode, which I have to admit is a shame, as this was one of the things that made the arcade machine so popular, the fact you could go through the whole game with a buddy. It's not a game-breaking deal though, as long as you know about it in advance. The graphics are big, bright and impactful, the music is just as good, the only negatives there are can't really be termed negatives with the game, and they're more deficits that are missing from the arcade machine. The game's a great walk-along beat-em-up to play on your own, and even bearing this in mind, I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10. However, I fully recognise that if you want to play with a buddy or have a friend around, you'd be better looking at one of its competitors, or even one of its sequels. These can be quite expensive to get though. I've had my copy of Final Fight since I was a kid. I actually brought it before I even owned a SNES. It was September and I knew I was getting my SNES for Christmas, and I already had a cheap import converter, and Final Fight came up for sale in my local games shop, a place called Games World, for £10. And I used to get £5 a week pocket money and £2 a day lunch money. So I did what I think most game crazy kids would do, and I took an apple and a bottle of water to school every day without my parents knowing, and ate these for dinner, pocketed the money, waited for Saturday and brought Final Fight. Following this sort of logic, it meant that by the time Christmas rolled around I had a nice little collection to play. If you want to buy Final Fight, well, PAL versions exist, but whenever I see them they're crazy money. NTSC America versions crop up for around £15 for a cart. To be honest, if you have a Wii U you can download Final Fight for, I think it's something like £6.50 for the SNES version. But if you have a PS3 or an Xbox 360, you can get a perfect emulation of the arcade machine for about £6.50. You'll find it under the name Final Fight Double Impact, and for your cash you get both Final Fight and another Capcom game called Magic Sword. This was also ported to the SNES. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this review. Thank you, have a good day.